You are very welcome back now. British Prime Minister Theresa May will meet with Tory backbenchers later this morning for the first time since Thursday's general election. The meeting comes after she finalised her cabinet with the shocking announcement of former Conservative leadership hopeful Michael Gove as Environment Secretary and the appointment of Damien Green, a close friend and ally, as First Secretary of State. Tories are furious at the election fiasco and are set to demand changes to her leadership style and concessions on key policy areas, including Brexit. Joining me with that story and everything else this morning are Today FM's Gavan Reilly and Director of the Irish Academy of Public Relations. It's a very grand title, Ellen.
Isn't it super?
It is indeed. It is, Ellen Gunning. Guys, good morning
to you.
Quite a weekend politically.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, we're still reeling with the kind of fallout from Thursday, as is May, I am sure. But she's kind of shoring herself up and she's trying to support her as best she can, because the weekend was spent with people just calling for her to go. The Tories are not kind to those who disappoint the party, and boy, did she ever disappoint. Can she survive, Ellen?
She must be, not for long, I don't think.
OK.
She must be the sickest bunny on the planet at the moment. Because if you think about it, when she called the election, people said, what a dastardly clever plan. She already has a majority. She's got to come back with a bigger majority.
How brave, how forthright.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant move. Corbyn hasn't a chance. And now look what happened. And of course they're baying for blood now and saying she must go off with her head. She got it completely wrong. Now, she was unfortunate in a lot of ways with the terrorism. She ran a very bad campaign. Her manifesto was awful. So she shot herself in both feet. You know, she picked up the two guns and went right foot, left foot.
Do you think she just took it for granted, Ellen? Do you think she just thought, exactly as you said, I'm so far ahead, I can't do anything wrong? And she didn't really campaign overtly. She just kind of said, here I am, and vote for me, please.
No, I think what she did was she looked at the statistics and she thought, I will definitely come back. There is no doubt about that. OK, nothing definite in politics, but she thought it was definite. I think she thought her manifesto, if she has that kind of a majority, I'll just tell them everything I want to do. I'll lay it all out. I'm covered for the next 5 years or whatever. Yeah. But I think what she got wrong was she did this kind of presidential style. She's not a good communicator, and she didn't communicate well. And I think if she'd the doing of the campaign all over again, somebody should have sat her down and said, you need to connect. She didn't connect with people.
Yeah, I think
that was her biggest mistake.
I think it's really difficult to run that presidential style campaign where you're trying to make it not about Conservative versus Labour, but you're trying to make it about Theresa May versus Jeremy Corbyn, and then you're not actually seen at a proper public event where you're really engaging with ordinary people, where you're only going to set pieces where you're looking at party supporters holding up placards.
And she also fought it on Brexit. Yeah. And Brexit is something that
had
didn't connect with
no
people.
Clear policy on Brexit, and was known to be opposed
we'll make
to
it up
Brexit.
as we go along.
Well, I was amused when I saw the introduction there, and it's perfectly right, of course, to say that her Tory colleagues are now looking for changes to her leadership style and changes to her policies. So basically, you can stay as long as you think and do entirely different things to what you previously said you did.
People were hoping that Boris would make a heave over the weekend, but Boris has very firmly come out and said he's been WhatsApping, saying, please be nice to her. Calm down, dear. But he's also said, we need to get behind her. This is where it's going. So he's not going to make a heave.
Yeah.
He's sensible enough to know it's a dangerous time to do so.
And I think that it's really very interesting that there's all the talk about what's called the 1922 committee, which is actually really the committee that runs the Conservative Party, and they'll be meeting this morning, and that could effectively decide her future, because it's all well and good being Prime Minister until they kick you out of your own party. But what I'm struck by is that she spent all of the weekend, there was this kind of whole question mark, and Labour are also apparently, trying to make some machinations about trying to secure power for themselves. But Theresa May at least has spent the weekend doing what it is that Prime Ministers do, which is getting down to business, trying to make appointments, trying to get a new administration up and running and
going
ahead.
Playing golf.
Well, not off playing golf at a May-branded golf course. But it's to be seen to be doing it, because now it makes it very difficult that if the 1922 committee did decide today to throw her overboard, it would make them look very silly, because she's already made a dozen cabinet appointments. So you kind of have a situation where Michael Gove has just been appointed
she's kind of set the wheels in motion, so it would look awkward if they were to do that.
To be sacked and then to have someone else come in and appointing you Environment Secretary. So she's already trying to grow roots that she can't be thrown overboard.
And what about the DUP? I was very interested in the fact that they said they've been discussing a deal for months and months and months.
DUP?
Really?
Oh, they're so interesting. I mean, if Theresa May is the sickest bunny on the planet, Arlene must be the DUP must be just chomping at the bit saying, oh, happy days, how did we get so lucky? Because they've now become kingmakers. And very cleverly what they're doing is they're saying, apparently Theresa May wanted a coalition. And they said, no, we're not going into coalition, because we know the history of coalitions. What we'll do is we will support you at a distance, which means they really are kingmakers. Yeah. So they can actually say, we'll support this piece, we'll not support that piece, we'll pull the plug at any time. It's very, very clever.
And is she so weakened she must accept that?
I found it interesting that she didn't actually look at any any other option except the DUP. She seemed to jump instantly and say, whoops, what I need is the DUP. They have 10 seats. They can support me. She didn't look anywhere else. I thought it might have been smarter if she'd looked around and said, are there other people we can open negotiations with? Maybe take just a little bit longer. It seems to have been all about when Parliament opens next week, she wants to be sure that she is actually the Prime Minister. I think she's probably made sure that she'll be Prime Minister for 6 months to a year. I saw, was it at the weekend or this morning, that she said at some stage that she said when she ran for the election, she will be Prime Minister for the full term. Not. Watch this space. Not going to happen.
I find it very difficult to think that the DUP could have been in talks for months trying to figure out exactly what impact they will have when everyone thought, first of all, the election was only called 2 months ago and no one saw it coming. But then secondly, for most of the 8 weeks that the campaign was going on for, people thought Theresa May was going to get 400 seats. So there was no question mark about the DUP possibly having any influence.
The DUP have been in meetings for months and discussing with them.
No,
it's
they've been in meetings
surely.
for months, maybe talking about matters specifically related to Northern Ireland and everything that's going on with Stormont, or that isn't going on about Stormont. But I find it very difficult to conceive of that a Prime Minister who thought that she was going to saunter home with the biggest majority ever seen
would be ringing the DUP going, here lads, in case this all goes...
Can I have your 10 seats,
pear-shaped,
please?
It
makes no sense
It doesn't make any sense to me.
Illogical.
Now, Ellen, what does this mean for the North? What does this mean for soft border, hard border, Brexit? How will it impact on us?
Very interesting, and in two different ways. I think it means that they will go for a softer Brexit. Because from
they
the
can go
north,
for it all they want, but it's not theirs for the taking. They have to be given it, don't they?
They do, but I think they will change her style of negotiating. I think they will actually send her in looking for different things. They will definitely negotiate on the basis of what is good for Northern Ireland or what they perceive to be good for Northern Ireland. I think the really interesting thing about it is the debates are starting today with Brokenshire about trying to get a power sharing arrangement in place. He's saying that 29th of June, if it doesn't happen, we go back to direct rule from Westminster. And that's the element I think is most fascinating. If the DUP have become kingmakers in Westminster, what influence do they have through Brokenshire on what's going to happen in Northern Ireland and the Northern Ireland Assembly? I know it's not a two-party state in the Assembly as it is in Westminster, but I think they'll wield an awful lot of power behind the scenes, and that will be one to watch.
Gavin, I'm going to move it because we could talk about this for the whole show, really. Let's be honest. But I'm going to move it closer to home. Leo and Simon for Foreign Secretary.
What other way can you possibly promote someone or your dearest rival by giving them the world's worst brief? You're moving them out of housing, which everyone knows is not exactly the easiest brief to get through, and then saying, right, the North and Brexit is now your fault, fire on away there, help yourself out. It basically seems that Leo Varadkar is not going to sack any more people out of Cabinet than are currently on their way out anyway. So there's already 14 Fine Gael seats around Cabinet. He's only going to put new bodies into the ones that are being vacated by Enda Kenny and Michael Noonan. There will be no question marks about anyone else getting dumped because they were on the wrong side of the heave. Now, that obviously makes it quite difficult for a lot of Leo Varadkar's supporters because they might have hoped that they would get promoted to those ranks. So it looks fairly certain that it would probably be Michael Ring and Owen Murphy. And of course, Owen Murphy was Leo Varadkar's campaign manager, so no surprise there. So there might be a case then of who gets what department and which seats do they get rotated around into. And it seems the reports this morning are that Simon Coveney will be going to Foreign Affairs, which of course in some ways can be great because if it's quiet time, then you get to be out of the country a lot. You're divorced from domestic drama, and given the water and housing crises that Simon Coveney's had for the last 15 months, probably quite happy to be have washed his hands of all of that. But then you're walking in from the out of the frying pan into the fire and having to deal with everything in Foreign Affairs, Brexit, the North, and particularly at a time when you don't know whether it could be possible to get the North back up and running because of the DUP influence in Westminster. It'll be a very interesting time for him.
But the other very clever thing is that Leo Varadkar is actually moving Simon Coveney to a certain extent off the national stage. So he's going to tie him up so much with Brexit and Foreign Affairs that he'll be in and out of the country like a cat in a hot griddle. He'll be working 24/7. So if it gives Leo time to actually settle everything down, to become the leader, it keeps his main rival off the national stage altogether, which I think is a very smart move.
Curiouser and curiouser. It's just one big chess game, isn't it, for those guys?
If he gets to be tarnished as Minister for Foreign Affairs, it worked out really well for Eamon Gilmore, didn't it?
Oh, there you go. I hadn't thought of it that way, Gavin. Thank you for shining that light upon the situation. Ellen and Gavin, thank you both very much, as always. Do let us know your thoughts on any of the topics we have discussed. You can text AM followed by your comment to 53131. You can email irelandam@tv3.ie. You can Facebook us and you can tweet us at irelandamtv3. Now, there's plenty more to come here on Ireland AM. We'll be back right after this break. See you then.